Just three nerds of color. Let's do this.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I finally got to complete the series and I love it. There's so many
Okay.
stories that were expanded and changed from the graphic novel. And I was wondering, what were the discussions to modify the story to really reflect and emphasize Jin's parents and the bull demon story?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think a lot of that starts with Kelvin Yu, with the showrunner. We had lots of discussions. So Melvin, Kelvin, and I had lots of discussions early on when we started talking about doing this adaptation, about how you move the core of the story from a 200-page graphic novel into an 8-episode season of television. And to do that, you really do need to expand the world. You need to expand the world of Jin on Earth by giving his parents more prominent roles. And you also need to expand the world of heaven by bringing in more figures from Chinese mythology. And I think Kelvin did a great job with all of that. He kind of tied everything together with this discussion about confidence versus keeping your head down, which I think is a discussion that is like central to the Asian American experience, right?
Well, I was wondering, American Born Chinese ends on a little cliffhanger, like little stories that to hint for next season. And I was wondering, if which allows more stories to be expanded from Gene's graphic novels. What discussions did you guys have regarding expanding your graphic novel, or did you plan on moving away from the themes into an overarching epic adventure only now?
I think it's combining. It's definitely making it more epic, but I think the themes come from the graphic novel. Like the graphic novel is the essence of the whole thing, and I, again, all credit to Kelvin Yu, just being able to take the essence of the graphic novel, synthesize it into a new form, expand it for television, because it is moving into a different medium. And, as the graphic novel, and Gene can speak to this, is very personal and much more finite. We're endeavoring to create something that can go on for a while.
Yeah. I think the epic kung fu fights are a really fun part of the show, but Kelvin and I have had lots of discussions about how that's not the center. Like it's not really as much as I love Percy Jackson, that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to do an Asian American Percy Jackson. All of the mythological stuff, all the kung fu is in support of a discussion about the Chinese American experience. I think episode 5 is actually a perfect example of this, right? There's a beautifully choreographed kung fu fight scene in there. But the moment that we hope sticks with the audience at the very end of that is actually this argument between two best friends, an Asian American and an Asian kid, right? Two friends about what's important, right? About what's important. And in that little interaction is like a distillation of attention that's within the Asian American community.
Yeah, and I really love that the story, we get to see the new kind of theme of becoming the hero because you change it to a fantasy element. I was wondering how you avoided the trope of the superhero trope of becoming your own, and with using kind of like the Journey to the West stories.
Yeah, I think, that was a lot of it, was taking inspiration from Journey to the West, which is a story about a hero, but it follows a different pattern from most Western heroic stories, right? It really is about, like, if you look at Journey to the West, it's about a monkey. He gets all of his superpowers early on. Like usually with Western stories, the hero slowly builds the superpowers until the final moment when he has this confrontation with the antagonist. But the Monkey King gets all of his superpowers early on, and the struggle for him isn't to get superpowers; it's to control his own ego, right? It's to control his own. Like my interpretation of the Monkey King story is that he's deeply insecure, and he gets all those superpowers to deal with his insecurity. So it's to control his own ego and to get a handle on his own security. There's a parallel to that in both Wei Chen and Jin's stories in the show.
Well, I really love the story, so thank you so much. And I love the add-on to Jin's parents and everything because it just felt so reflective of my own. So love the series, and I can't wait for everyone to see it. So thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Laura. So nice to
Thank you.
meet
Oh
you.
my god, you guys are so cute on the series. I love watching you guys. It's very comparable to just growing up in like the high school years of having a crush and just coming of age. And American Born Chinese has so many themes. They do have the coming of age story, having crushes, dealing with parents, either overbearing or helicopter parents, and becoming the hero and confidence and everything in between. And I was wondering what theme or story really stood out to you in the series.
Hmm. For me, my way of thinking about the series is that at the very center, there's so many different stories running in parallel, right? There's really the American Born Chinese, the show is really about 3 or 4, depending on how you look at it, stories sort of at first running in parallel with each other, and you cut between them, right? And then slowly, as the series progresses, these 4 different separate storylines start talking to each other and informing each other. And then towards the end, they start invading each other, right? And becoming one story. But for me, like at the center of all of these stories is Jin's family. It's about Jin and his parents and their relationship to one another and how that affects each of them. Right? Jin is a character who very much feels like he has to be different people in different situations. At school, he's one person. At home, he's another person. He has a conversation with his mom, right? About, I don't know which guy I am. I don't know who I am. And he has to learn throughout the series that, he feels like he's stuck between worlds, between his family and school and, all the mythological stuff too. But he has to learn that in order to really grow up, he has to reconcile all of those worlds and bring them together. And it's really, I feel like all of those stories are orbiting this sort of family unit.
Yeah. And Sydney, what really stood out for you regarding this story?
I think for me it was a similar thing of like I think it's very easy to feel sort of out of touch with yourself when you're growing up. And so I feel like this show does a really good job of explaining that you don't need to be one thing. You don't have to pick a side. You don't have to pick what part of yourself to be around certain people. Like whatever you do, all of it's you, and it doesn't matter. And so I think that there was a good parallel of like Amelia at the beginning. I think she does feel that she has to be this person at school of like the popular, the nice girl, the cute girl next door, whatever. And then she goes home and she doesn't feel like any of that. So I think never having to or understanding that you're never going to be one thing, so never feeling like you have to be.
Yeah. It's also a conversation about authenticity, right? Yeah. And what does it mean to be your authentic self?
Yeah.
And really, it's anything, as long, just be you.
Yeah.
Is a line in one of the later episodes. There's nothing more to it. You are you.
Yeah.
So just be.
Well, like both of you guys talked about like parents and the relationship with the parents, like Mia's relationships and Jin's relationship, Mia and Jin's relationship with their parents. We see with Jin, we see his relationship with his parents as the typical, kind of like the immigrant experience of the dad working, the mom stays at home and takes care. It was like my experience really, and like that dynamic. And then we see Amelia's family being kind of like this helicopter Instagrammable kind of parents that we see that very different. And I was wondering for you guys how it stood out for you to see these comparisons side by side. And I know, Ben, you're second, third generation Asian American, so it might be a little bit different for you regarding the immigrant experience, but still seeing that comparisons between these two worlds of families.
Sure. I'm actually a first generation immigrant.
Oh,
I immigrated. Okay. I came from China to the States when I was 6 years old.
Oh my God. So this is experiences for you, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is like connected to you.
Totally. Exactly. It felt like one-to-one. But I think it was such a brilliant move on the part of the writers to have that episode where Jin jumps from his family to Amelia's family, and he sees, in a way, it's all the ways that it's different, right? But it's in another way, it's about how everybody has problems with their parents, right? If it's not one thing, it's the other thing, and that's really a point of connection for Amelia and Jin.
Yeah, and even though they don't even throughout the show, they don't even directly talk about that after that episode, but it's just sort of this mutual understanding that, hey, we both have these issues. I don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it, but it's a point of connectivity for them, and I think that's really important at 15 years old to feel that somebody understands you, regardless of who that is for you. To feel like you're understood in some regard is very important.
Right. And it so fits the theme of the show, which is this idea of like Jin has to jump between worlds. And the jump between his home life in school and also his home life and like the mythological world, it's just as big as jumping between his home and Amelia's home and seeing just how different they are. It really feels like you're in a different world. And I know that because I had those same experiences growing up, going to my white friends' houses and being like, oh my God, your dog is so big.
Oh my God, I just felt that relatability right there too.
Yeah, you eat donuts for breakfast? Oh my God.
Well, thank you guys so much, and I can't wait for everyone to see this story. I got to see the whole entire thing, and it's amazing. And I can't wait to see more of it. If hopefully, and like we get to see I just can't wait for everyone to see this and feel the relatability of it. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Laura.
Hi. I'm so happy to chat with you guys. Both of you, your portrayal as parents, I just love it. I love your depiction of parenthood. And it's the closest to my own parents who, fought a lot but persevered through it all, and they're just trying to be good parents, and your chemistry felt really real. And I love that. You guys had really amazing chemistry. How closely connected did you guys feel playing these characters? And who did you draw inspiration for them?
Many people I draw inspiration from, and partly me myself.
So you totally inspired yourself.
Of course.
Wow.
We actually spent a lot of time talking about
How refreshing.
these two characters. Yeah, no. Oh, actually, her. No, of course. There's Christine. There's part of me in it. I can't run away from that. If someone else is portraying Christine, I'm sure it will be something different. It will be a different portrayal. But Christine is someone that I think I love her so much because she is so real. The writing team did a great job on her, and when we discussed it, there's a lot of space for me to create the nuances that she's feeling. There's, how do I say, and I think the moments of vulnerable moments are those moments that many people will feel for her, and it's not. I don't think it's even just Asian person looking at her and feel for her. I think anyone, a human, sees a vulnerable moment for a woman who is so strong. They've put up such a strong front. They would just melt for her. So I just love her again.
In some ways, I think it's the same with Simon. I think there's such a pressure for Asian men to live up to certain ideals, and then here you get to see someone who is also vulnerable, and but within that vulnerability, he's trying to find his identity, his voice, to provide for his family and be an example for his son too. So I think that it's for the fathers out there. I think those are my inspirations. To bring together this character. But really, I'm inspired by the actors around me as well. Like Yan Yan, like Ben. Even as a young actor, he is quite fearless, and so it's been a pleasure through and through.
Well, the series is about Jin and his family and the family dynamics. And I love the immigrant experience from the story of not stepping out of line, the stay-at-home mom who wants to contribute, and Chin-han, I'm so used to your villainous and serious roles. It's so refreshing to see you in a role where you're loving and you're a father and a husband doing whatever it takes for his family. How was this a change of pace for you? And Yan Yan, your work in Asian films, you're portraying a mother trying to make it in American culture. So I was wondering how it's a change of pace for you, Chin-han, and for you, Yan Yan.
In some ways, whenever you tackle a story, you're in your own head the protagonist in that story, whether you're a villain or a hero. So in some ways, you go about it, you go about the business in the same way, but in another, to your point, it was very refreshing for me, really, to play this role. It really brought me back to my days in the theater, playing scenes with two other actors instead of a cast of hundreds, right, of extras, and whether it's a disaster movie or a big action film. I love the quietness of it. I love the honesty in it, and I love the authenticity of these scenes, because when you have fewer actors, I think there's something magical that takes place where I think you only have yourselves, to make the scene work. It's pretty much like we're both on that plank of wood in Titanic, and we need to try to make this work, and then when that happens, when that happens, I think you get to a level of performance that is very satisfying for me.
Yeah. And it's great to have a chance to work with Gene Luen. I mean, we're from I live in Singapore, but I've never worked with him my whole life. And and then I have to travel half of the world to come here to work with him. It's really, yeah. Can you think about,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
I have to come fly 18 hours to come here and get to know him, work with him, and I just coming here. This is my first project here. It's a total new environment, total new weather that I have to get used to settle into the weather. The 4 months I was always cold. Everybody's in just shorts and slippers. I'm always in my puffer jacket. They were laughing at me because of my puffer jacket, because I got to climatize. It took so long, but I gotta say, I'm very lucky to land a first job, American-born Chinese. Sincerely, this project is precious for me. Is really, really precious. I spent a lot of time with my co-actors, which I'm very grateful, to explore the character together, to find the different levels of the relationship between everybody, and that was luxury for me. Luxury. I was here for 4 months. I can focus on the work. It was so fun. Like you said, it's like in the theater. The 4 months, I was just focusing on one work, one character, being here, like outstation, not have to worry about anything else. I think it really is amazing journey for me, and the journey is still going on right now in the press junket talking about it.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you guys so much. And honestly, your chemistry was so fantastic, and it felt just real. The characters just felt so real and so poignant to me. So thank you so much, and I can't wait for everyone to see it and feel it too. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sir, it is so fantastic to see you in this role as the Monkey King in both your youth as a father grown up. We're so used to seeing you, and still seeing you as a heartthrob and a serious guy. But it's so fun seeing you in the series getting drunk and like having fun as a young Monkey King, and also see you finally becoming a father or daddy, whatever you prefer, to a teenager. How was it to portray this role and the change of pace from your previous roles?
It was really cool. First of all, it was really cool to show the full gamut of Monkey King. Because when I first started on the project, I just only seen the first 2 or 3 episodes, and I wasn't sure if there was going to be a flashback to see the younger Monkey King. So I was a little nervous because it is a very different take on the Monkey King. He's a little more stoic, more mature. He's dealing with responsibilities, left and right. And so I wasn't sure how like traditional audiences who know Monkey King would take that. But to be able to show him as a youngster and show that kind of more traditional side that we're used to of seeing Monkey King made it kind of a cool, full, complete journey for me, in terms of being able to show all aspects of the character. And then it was really, really fun to play the young, naughty Monkey King, because that is a character that I'm really familiar with, but it's also a side that I've never really shown on screen for me as an actor. kind of this sillier side, a more funny side. I was able to do a kind of a funny voice with the character, and then the episode being all in Mandarin as well was interesting as well, because it was that posed a bunch of challenges as well. But to be able to show it kind of that side of the story authentically was really cool. So it was a lot of fun, to be able to play this character.
Well, I feel very close to your professional story because everything I followed your career for a long time. I've been interviewing you for years, and
Yeah.
I know what everything you've gone through, going to Asia for your career, and now seeing your home country of America, we're Americans,
Mhm.
finally embracing Asian faces and including them into the American stories. It's not like Asian stories, but this is American stories, and we're just in
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And we heard Ki Hua Kwan talk about it, but I was wondering what your perspective in all of this regarding how you went to Asia, and now it's kind of like we're accepted into Asian American stories, American stories.
Yeah, it's really interesting because if I were to have started my career here and kind of struggle with like all my, same kind of era Asian American colleagues, I don't think I would have lasted, a year or two maybe, to be, all cattle together for the same one role that was available, all that. I don't think I could have taken it. And so what being in Asia did for me was it empowered me to feel accepted, but also to develop on my own and find out who I was on my own, instead of trying to mold into characters that were written mostly by white people and that were bad caricatures of who we were. And so I was able to develop on my own with characters that are written by, Chinese people for Chinese audience, and not think about race whatsoever. Right. And so I had the luxury of 20 years of doing that, so that when I came back here, I was very clear on who I was as a person and who I was as an actor. And I had all that experience to be able to play all kinds of characters, from romantic comedies and art house films to action roles to being an action hero, all that kind of stuff. I had that opportunity instead of being stuck in a very small niche. So I think that gave me, a lot of confidence to be able to come back, and a lot of understanding about, who I am and where I'm standing, the firm ground I'm standing on. So that was very, very important. And then, working here, especially on American Born Chinese, was a very special moment, because although I was really warmly accepted and treated so well while I was working in Asia, and I owe everything to that experience. I did always feel like slightly an outsider, right? Because I grew up here. I had a different perspective. I was educated differently. I know about different things. And then coming back here working on non-Asian projects here, I felt like an outsider too, being one of the only Asians on set and that kind of thing as well. So this is the first true time that I've been on a set where everybody was Asian American, and they're all people who have had tremendous careers in their own rights in the film business here, and then coming together to work on this project and putting their best foot forward. It was like a really cool energy to have on set. And it felt really special because we all knew that this is a very special moment and a very rare one to have.
Yeah, and the thing is, I know I spoke to you about this. Like American Born Chinese was during your timeline, like just like Gene's,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
1990s. What was that? What was it that stuck out for you regarding the graphic novel and also this story, like both the graphic novel and also this series?
Well, I think what stuck out was that all the kind of details and minutia and the trials and tribulations of growing up, of someone with a cultural background in a school that is not necessarily that, or doesn't have a broad cultural diversity. And so what do? Do you try to fit in? What aspects of your culture do you hide? What aspects do you show? All of that I felt really resonated with me, in both the graphic novel and this show. And so times are very different now. Times are, everybody knows what a soup dumpling is now, right? But back in the day when you brought that to school, people were like weirded out by that. And so to be able to see that on screen and see the changes that we've had, is amazing to see. And the fact that we're at a point now, we're at an inflection point now where we're able to tell our stories authentically on screen, but also present it in a very universal way. That this is, specifically about a Chinese American immigrant story, but it's also very universal, because if you're any person of color, anybody who comes from an immigrant family, you're going to kind of relate to the things that are happening in this story to this character, right? And then also even more universal is like everybody was an awkward teen in high school, right? And everyone was trying to find their place. And so whether you have that cultural background or not, you definitely feel what it was like to be that. And so there's a lot of elements in the show that feel like a John Hughes movie, you know. I think with the music and the kind of setup in the scenes, with the awkwardness, like I really love the scene with Jin and Sydney, the first time they meet in the high school in episode 1, and this kind of like chemistry they have where you can tell they kind of interested in each other, but you know, not sure how to express that, and all that was really cool to see, because I love John Hughes movies. I grew up with all that stuff, but to see it play out with like kind of a mixed race, group of kids, it was really fresh and interesting.
Well, thank you so much. I always love talking to you, and I can't wait for everyone to see this. So thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thanks
See
for
you
your
soon.
support.
Of course. See you soon. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Fanboys, professional artists, and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life. Comics, movies, and TV. Yeah. Pop culture with a different perspective. Watch it on your screen, hit play, so check this.